gosh, why am I gonna cry? See, this is what I mean. My hormones are like so crazy. Welcome back to our channel.
And as time goes by, I know I'm in a better place. I'm in a better place.
We just put Harbor down. Hopefully he doesn't wake up. We've been doing this new thing where we like put him down awake. He can self-soothe himself. It's hard. He just sits there. He'll just talk to himself for so long. Today we're talking about all things breastfeeding. I'm going to be talking about my breastfeeding journey since I've been pretty much exclusively breastfeeding Harbor. And we are going to talk about the topic that you guys always ask about, which is why Julia couldn't breastfeed. But I know we made a big fuss about it before Harbor was here while Abbie was pregnant, that I was inducing my lactation. I was going to try and breastfeed, and then we just stopped talking about it, and I mentioned a couple times I wasn't, but I didn't really go into detail, so we're doing that today. And we've kind of been purposefully trying not to talk about it because it is kind of like an emotional subject for us, but you know what? We're gonna tell you guys, we're gonna just be raw and real today. We are. We also have a couple of questions from you guys that you have asked on Instagram that we're gonna be answering as well. Before we get into it though, make sure to subscribe. We post new videos usually twice a week, I don't know. Usually. And if you don't want to miss anything exciting happening, then you better subscribe because there's lots of exciting things that are going to be happening. Okay, let's get into your breastfeeding journey. So, all right. From the beginning, it was difficult for you. It was very difficult. Well, at first it was like, because when you first start breastfeeding, your milk doesn't come in, and like the baby's still learning, and so it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is hard, but it'll start working out. It started to get like really hard when my milk wasn't enough, and I couldn't figure out how to get him to latch, and I was like home, and I didn't have any like nurses helping me, and my milk slacked for like how long? A really long time. And it was so hard on me, like emotionally and physically. It's still really, really hard on me physically to breastfeed because you have to be eating so much and drinking so much. It's like impossible to do that when you're also taking care of a baby and you're taking care of a home and you're working and all that stuff. It's a lot of work. It really is. We had no idea that breastfeeding was so hard. I had no idea the emotional like hormones that you go through. It's just, I've thought about quitting breastfeeding so many times. Last night I was like, I'm gonna quit breastfeeding. I didn't tell you this, but all last night I was like, I'm gonna quit breastfeeding. This is like too much. But then it's such a nice experience to like bond with your baby. So then I never end up stopping because I love that so much. But it's also so hard. I think a lot of people have a hard time breastfeeding. Yeah. I think that's a very common thing. But I never understood it until I was in it. I do think it was a little bit trickier for you in your specific circumstance because you had initially lost so much blood during the birth. You were very anemic, so you didn't have They didn't let me eat for like 3 days either. So. Yeah. So you didn't have a lot in you to be giving to somebody else. So as you were trying to heal yourself, you were also trying to nourish a human being completely. Right. So it was really hard for you to recover. And because everything that you had, you were just sending straight through your milk. It was really, really hard. And I feel like I'm still doing that now. Like you guys have heard me talk about how I'm going through something on Instagram. And it's like, I'll get more into that later, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just so hard on you mentally and physically. Like you go to pump and then you realize that you didn't pump as much as you did yesterday, and then you feel down on yourself, and it's really an emotional roller coaster, you guys. So this was obviously interfering with my happiness, which is a great reason that BetterHelp is sponsoring today's video, because if you guys are going through something similar, this can be really, really helpful for you if you're postpartum, if you're going through something that's LGBTQ, literally anything. So when you sign up for BetterHelp, what they do is they will assess what your needs are, and then they will match you with a licensed professional therapist, and you can start talking to them within 48 hours. A bunch of different counselors, so if there's a certain counselor that might not be available in your area, that's something that you can find on BetterHelp. And remember, it is not a crisis line, it's not self-help, it's professional counseling done securely online. It's available for you worldwide, so if you need to log on and talk to someone, you can log on at any time. In addition to being able to message them at any time, you can also schedule weekly or monthly, whatever you want, video phone calls with them, so you don't have to sit in a waiting room like you would in traditional counseling. Plus, it's often more affordable than traditional counseling, and they have financing options for you. Plus, if you get matched with a counselor that you're not really feeling, you don't feel like there's a good like connection there, you can always switch. They make it really easy for you to switch to. If you guys would like to join, you can visit betterhelp.com/AJ, that's better HELP, and you can join the over 1 million people on there that are taking charge of their mental health through the help of an experienced professional. Plus, we have a special offer for you guys, of course. So if you go to betterhelp.com/AJ, you can get 10% off your first month. Thank you so much for BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. You know we love working with them. So let's go ahead and get on into the questions. So let's answer some of the questions that were directed at you, and then I can talk about my thing, and then we can answer some of the questions. Okay, cool. Does it hurt? Oh my gosh, much. In the beginning, yes, so much. It doesn't hurt once you get past that point. But in the beginning, do you remember when he would first start latching and I would be like,
You go like this?
Yeah, it hurts so much. It's so hard not to just like pull them off because it's literally so painful.
Because that's your reflex. If something painful is happening, you don't want to keep doing it.
It's a very sharp, like, pain. I don't know how to explain it, but yes, but it goes away.
You had blisters on your nipples.
Yeah. It's not fun.
How often do you breastfeed him?
About every 2 hours, I'd say, on average.
Which I
in
think
the
is
night
often.
is longer, but yeah, feed every 2 hours during the day.
He usually only feeds once during a 12-hour period at night.
Yeah.
So he goes to bed at 7 p.m. He wakes up at 7 a.m. usually. He'll feed one time during that right now. Do you enjoy breastfeeding? This lady says with her kids, breastfeeding made her so angry.
I like it, but I also have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah.
It's hard, and like it's so hard on me mentally and emotionally and physically, just like everything, but then also like there are those times where it's not hard and like we're just sitting there, like we're listening to music and he's just like rubbing his hand on me and it just makes all those moments like disappear, but then they all come right back. So love hate.
Yeah. Do you still breastfeed Harbor when he gets teeth, or are you scared he will bite you?
I've been scared about that because the pediatrician already says that he has some like under his gums that haven't like peeked through yet, and I think that they're making him uncomfortable because he already does bite me, and so he doesn't bite, but he will like, I don't know how to explain it.
Clamp down.
Yeah, we'll see. I might have to stop if it gets too painful, I guess.
We're taking it day by day. Well, you're taking it day by day. I don't know why I'm speaking for you.
This could all change tomorrow.
Yeah. It's been hard work being the only one doing it since you thought that we were both going to be doing it.
I feel like this was like something that was like kind of hard on us in the beginning because my expectation was that we were going to be doing 50-50 of it.
Yeah.
And like I didn't really understand how breastfeeding worked. I didn't really understand like you have to be either pumping or feeding or else you're not going to have a milk supply. Like I just thought you just always had milk and that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. So that part of it was hard, and it's still kind of hard because I have to be the one to wake up and feed him or wake up and pump, and you don't have to do that. So sometimes it is hard to wake up and you're just over there snoring and I'm over here pumping and my boobs hurt and I'm leaking milk everywhere, the pump is not working, it's just so frustrating. But you just have to remember it's not your fault.
Yeah, please remember that. Yeah, I think that was hard, definitely, at the beginning, because, and I think this is hard for every couple. The person who gives birth often feels like they're taking on everything, because
you really are.
You are. There's really no way around it. And
especially healing, too. Like, it was hard because I couldn't do so much in the beginning.
Right.
But you kind of just have to understand that, like, your partner just has to step up, and if they don't, then that's, like, who are you with?
And that's why we're getting a divorce.
And that is why today's video is
Do you think that I am helpful?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially in the beginning when I like couldn't get out of bed and everything. Like some partners would just expect me to still do it, I think. But you understood that I couldn't, and that would be really hard on my body physically while I was healing. So
I try and do everything that I can. You know, like when you have to wake up in the night to pump, I'll go take it down to the fridge so you can just go right back to sleep.
Right.
And
you wake up if it's not time for him to eat and put
Right.
him back down or change diapers because I do most of the feeding, so you do most of the diapers, and it works out. I'm not saying it's easy, but it does work out.
And will you stop breastfeeding?
It could be tomorrow, it could be in a year, it could be in a week, literally no idea.
Your goal going into this was
2 years.
2 years, because
I also wanted to keep my milk supply for whatever reason in the situation that we're in now where you can't breastfeed and I still have a milk supply. We could just carry that on through the next baby.
that was one of the other questions. Were we still planning on both breastfeeding the next baby?
We don't know. I honestly don't want to set an expectation for it, you know what I mean? Because we kind of got our hopes up for our situation now and it didn't work out. So I just don't want to set any expectations. Whatever happens, if I'm still breastfeeding and I have a milk supply and you don't want to breastfeed or you can't for whatever reason, I want to take that on, I'll do it. If I don't have a milk supply and you want to breastfeed and it's going great for you, wonderful. If we're both going to breastfeed, also wonderful.
So we'll just see what happens, yeah.
We got this.
Did your boobs get smaller since you're breastfeeding?
Oh my gosh, no, they got bigger. They got bigger like 3 sizes. They get bigger while you're pregnant, but not by very much. I mean, I guess it depends on the person, but like once my milk came in, I was like, free boob job. The funny thing is though, like so like at night I'll go like 4 hours without feeding, so I get really full of milk, and that's when they're like really, really big and like perky, but then the moment you feed, they just sag right back down and they're sad, so. It kind of depends on the time. They can be like
a C cup or they can be like a B cup. Kind of depends on the day and the time, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you won't be as hungry too, so like if he eats on one side more than the other side, I'll be lopsided as well, so that's fun.
We haven't really talked about this yet, but your milk supply dipped
A lot.
Several weeks ago.
Yeah, it did.
And
Like to completely nothing almost.
yeah, so that was another hard thing
That's really
that we
hard.
went through. And when that happened, your boobs shrunk.
They did. They shrunk a lot. Like they went back to probably my pre-pregnancy size,
Yeah.
I would think.
What I was gonna say is, do you want to talk about when your milk dipped a couple weeks ago?
So about, I think this was like 2 weeks ago, I was going through something where my emotions went like completely haywire. I was so anxious. I almost like was having like postpartum depression symptoms, and I was feeling so awful. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and so I called my doctor, talked to them about it, and I actually got put on an antidepressant and anti-anxiety medication, which I've been terrified of taking like my entire life. Like how many times have I said I will never take anything for my anxiety ever? I've always just been in therapy.
The day, yeah.
And I was so desperate at that point because I was feeling so awful. So I ended up taking the medication. The medication didn't work for me. It made me feel 10 times worse. I don't know if it was just the anxiety of taking the medication or if the medication just didn't work for my body. I don't know what happened. But with not eating and not sleeping and not drinking for like 3 days straight, my milk completely went. Like Harbor wouldn't latch on because there was no milk in there. I would try and pump and I would get like maybe 1/4 of an ounce on each side. It was literally awful.
Yeah, it was really hard, and you could not even get out of bed. You felt so bad. You couldn't eat. So all of those things, like if you don't eat, you don't make milk.
Right.
You know, and if you don't pump or breastfeed, you don't make milk. So
Also, your hormones play into you like breastfeeding and pumping. So if I'm anxious while I'm pumping, I can't get any milk out, even if I'm so full of milk and I'm just like having so much anxiety at night, which I typically do. I cannot get any milk out, which is dangerous because if I can't get the milk out, I am at risk for mastitis, or then, you know, my milk just drying up because it's not being released. It was literally the worst thing ever. I think it was really hard on both of us because I was feeling so bad that I didn't leave the bed. I was feeling bad emotionally, physically. Like I've never felt so crappy in my entire life. And I feel like I'm still dealing with things like now. Like I'm still having like symptoms of these things and I haven't fully figured out what it is, if it really is postpartum depression and anxiety, or if I actually am going through something like health-wise. I don't really know. I've talked to so many doctors. They all tell me the same thing. It's actually quite frustrating, because I can't get an answer on why I constantly feel dizzy and lightheaded and just like crappy all the time. So I'll probably update you guys when I have a better answer for you, but right now I have no idea what's going on with me. I did end up getting my milk back though.
yeah.
I was able to finally like start to feel better. I don't feel 100%, but I am able to like eat enough and drink enough. Well, barely able to eat enough and drink enough to the point where I do have like a supply enough for him, and I was power pumping and I was doing everything that you can possibly do to try and get your milk back, and it ended up coming back, thank goodness. But that was really scary. That was a hard time.
I think it's hard because still to this day you don't feel better.
No,
you know?
I don't. I really don't. And like I try and be as positive as I can because I don't want this to be like a channel where I'm just like upset, but no, I feel like crap all the time.
We're being very honest in this video.
And maybe you guys have noticed that in the videos because we haven't been uploading as much as we usually do, but it's hard. It's so hard being postpartum. It's so hard having like birth expectations and having the birth not go the way you wanted. Oh my gosh, why am I gonna cry? See, this is what I mean. My hormones are like so crazy. But I just have been dealing with so many emotions that are just like so hard. Not right now, real estate agent, not right now. But it's just been really hard on me, and I feel like I can't take it anymore physically. Like my body is just so like worn down. I just weighed myself last night and I weigh less than I did before I was even pregnant. Like when I was like really into fitness.
You were your lowest when I have known you.
Yeah.
You weigh less than.
So it's just been really hard on me. So anyway, not gonna cry in this video.
Well, like you said, we'll update you guys if
we find out, or if I
solution.
start to feel better. If this
Yeah.
week I'm able to eat more and I do feel better, or if I stop breastfeeding and I feel better. I don't know. We'll keep you guys updated. All right, let's go on to something more happy, even though this video is not really a happy video.
So I guess tying into that, why did we start using a little bit of formula?
That's when my milk dipped. I did not have enough to feed him.
Yeah.
We were going through our freezer stash every day we were going through bags and bags a day.
That 3 days, I've maybe fed him an ounce because that's all I was making. And so you were having to use everything that I had saved up. And so when my milk kind of started going back, we had to get formula basically. And we've just been doing it at night before he goes to bed now because my milk is enough during the day to feed him, but I feel like he still needs a little bit extra. So we've been using about 3 ounces of my pump milk that I have saved with a little bit of formula.
It's not very much that we're using, but it also, it's like we were saying, we don't know if tomorrow you're going to stop breastfeeding.
Right.
We don't know.
And so we need to slowly start
to be some sort of a transition if we are going to switch to formula. So
and it's been helping him like go longer stretches with sleep, and he's been gaining more weight. The pediatrician says he's in a higher percentile now. So
yeah,
it's been good.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It's like going through all this, he's fine, but he has been barely fine for a long time. And he was not gaining weight as good as he should be for a while, but we're at the point now where he is, but it's also causing you to suffer. So anyway, it's just a cycle. Well, now let's talk about me.
All right, you next.
Basically, to sum up everything that happened with me breastfeeding.
If you're new here though, Julia had been inducing her lactation honestly since the moment I got pregnant pretty much. Taking supplements, pumping sometimes every hour, like on the dot, waking up in the night to pump, literally everything that you can do.
Was very time consuming and very difficult because you need oxytocin to make milk, as we were just saying, and it's hard to do that when I was not having a baby to actually breastfeed.
You weren't even pregnant, you didn't have any of those hormones.
So it was stimulating hormones, but not really the right kind of hormones, so it was very emotional for me to try and get there. And then the whole birth experience happened, which was not good for anyone. And
our expectation was completely different of what happened. We were thinking we were going to have him at home and I was going to be able to latch and then you'd be able to latch, but
because of everything that happened with Abbie's health, the people at the hospital recommended that she breastfeed for now and me, just keep pumping, do my own thing, because we don't want Harbor to get nipple confusion, first of all, because she was already having a hard time with breastfeeding.
So my milk wasn't even coming in, and then
so she was the main priority and we needed to focus on her. So that's what we did. I did try a couple times. What we did was after he would feed from you, he would switch over to me, but he was frustrated because there was literally nothing coming out. It was confusing, and so we stopped because we didn't want it to get worse for you, because it seemed like every time we were doing that, it was making it harder for you. We stopped doing that.
Also, we had to stay in the hospital for like almost 4 days, I think it was. And so we you didn't bring a pump with you. And so when you're trying to induce your lactation, it is so important that you're pumping at those times so that your body is still like, we need to make milk, but you couldn't pump that whole time. So that is that just stops like the whole process. Even just going a day completely would cut the process that you did.
And after that, you couldn't get out of bed, like we mentioned. So that left a lot of the responsibilities of taking care of the house, taking care of you, taking care of Harbor, all
there would not have been time for you to
I had no time to do that. So during that point, it pretty much was non-existent. And then as time went on, you just continued to have these struggles breastfeeding him. So it was not realistic at all for me to be able to take over kind of and be like, well, let's make this about me.
It wasn't even that. It's just like, it wouldn't have worked anyway. Like, there's no way. We wouldn't have been able to feed him enough, like...
And the time involved, it would have meant while one person was feeding, the other person would have to be pumping all the time. The fact that I didn't have a normal supply would mean if he latched onto me, he wouldn't get milk. So then it would mean every time I would feed him, he would latch onto me, he would be frustrated.
And he was already frustrated when I had a full supply trying to latch. So it was like,
there's
recipe
no way
for disaster.
And so
but at least we tried.
We did try. And I can say that because
we tried so hard. Like, we put everything into it because we thought it would be a really nice experience for you to have that bonding with Harbor.
And I do think if everything had been perfectly ideal, it probably would have worked out. It still wouldn't have been easy, but we never thought it would be easy, but it would have worked, I think. And there is still the possibility that we could do it with our next baby. Even though you weren't able to breastfeed, do you still feel like you bonded with Harbor on that level? Yes, I don't know what you mean by that level, but I do feel like I bonded with Harbor. I think that we spent a lot of time together.
If anything, I feel like you guys had like an initial bond before we did, because you were able to hold him and see him first,
and if he cried, you couldn't stand and hold him for a long time. So there was a lot of times where I
don't even remember being at the hospital, so I don't even remember anything. Like, Guys, I don't even remember the times she tried to breastfeed. Like, I know it happened, but I don't remember.
Yeah, we had this conversation the other day. She was like, why did you ever try it? And I was like, I did. Yeah, I think that a lot of the, like, emotional support provided to Harbor, especially during the first couple of weeks, all came from me. So then it really did balance out. So another one of the questions was, does he prefer you because you're the one who breastfeeds him? I don't think that that's
I feel like
true.
if anything, there's certain things that he leans on you more. Like, he knows that I'm the food source.
He does know that for sure now.
You can tell. So, like, sometimes if he's a little bit hungry, he'll just whine if he, like, and, like, grab at my shirt if he can tell, like, he wants milk. But, like, I feel like he is soothed more, like, going down for bed and being rocked by you. Like, I don't think he leans on me for that, like, soothing. I don't think breastfeeding is as soothing for him as I thought it was.
I think for a lot of babies, it's a very comforting thing, but for him...
He doesn't like that. He likes to be, like, rocked and bounced by someone.
Yeah.
He likes to just eat and then immediately go into that, so.
Alright, well, that's pretty much it for today's video, I think.
I'm sorry it was a little bit more of an emotional video. Usually we're a fun twerk of the day type of channel. But you guys are, like, close to us, and we thought, you know what, we can be real with you guys.
Especially because we have been, I feel like, slacking with content for you guys.
And we don't just want to, like, not explain why. Like, we don't want you guys to think that we just, like, don't care about this, or we're just, like, lazy, which, I mean...
Maybe we're a little lazy.
No, it's just, we're just going through a lot right now, and I hope that it gets better, and I hope that I have an explanation for you soon.
I think it will. I think that we know when is a healthy time to stop too.
Yeah.
So if
we'll see what happens.
If we can't find a good explanation, then maybe that's...
And it'll probably be sooner rather than later if that's what it boils down to. So we'll see what happens. We're just taking it day by day and taking my health day by day. And
that's it.
Hopefully soon I'll be back with 3 videos a week and we'll be thriving. We'll see.
We'll see.
We got this. This is like our 4th high five this video.
Woohoo!
Alright, that's pretty much it. Make sure to subscribe. Hopefully you'll see a happier video next, and we'll see you guys next
time. Should we do a twerk of the day to make the video like a little bit more?
Twerk of me for me. Twerk of me.
Alright. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Alright, bye.
Bye.